The most powerful man alive wrote in secret every night. Marcus Aurelius knew a terrible truth. Everything ends. March 180 AD. On the frozen Danube frontier, snow buries a Roman camp, and Marcus Aurelius steps out of his tent into the blizzard. He rules from Britain to Egypt, but the Emperor of Rome is coughing blood, and he knows no physician alive can save him. For years, by lamplight, Marcus Aurelius filled wax tablets with a private diary in Greek, notes never meant for anyone. "Everything fades," he wrote. On the 17th of March, at Vindobona, his officers pushed into the tent and sank to their knees in the mud, helmets in hand. By morning, the tent stood empty. A cloak fallen in the mud, a lamp burned out, and 58 years of a Roman life finished. The news crossed the Alps to Rome, and the city broke. Strangers wept in the Forum, and the Senate voted Marcus Aurelius a god. Rewind 60 years to Rome, 138 AD. A 16-year-old boy walks the crowded markets in a rough Greek cloak, dressed poorer than his own slaves. His name is Marcus Annius Verus. His family is among the richest in the empire, yet he argues Stoic philosophy until dawn. He sleeps on bare wooden boards instead of his bed, until his mother Domitia finds him shivering on the floor and begs him to stop. Then, in February, the dying Emperor Hadrian points across the hall at the boy and hands Marcus Aurelius the Roman world. He's 16. Rome hands him absolute power, and Marcus Aurelius panics. He tears the imperial purple from his shoulders and leaves it lying on the floor. For 23 years, he serves under Antoninus Pius, working through the night on law and paperwork, sleeping at his desk like a clerk. March 161 AD. As Antoninus Pius fades, he orders the golden statue of Fortuna carried to Marcus Aurelius. The empire is his. Then Marcus does something no Roman had ever done. He walks into the Senate and makes Lucius Verus his equal. 2 emperors, 1 throne. Within months, a rider comes crashing through the streets of Rome, half dead in the saddle, carrying news from the eastern frontier. In Armenia, the Parthians have wiped out an entire Roman legion. Marcus Aurelius reads the report twice, then hurls the scroll against the wall. The legions march east under Lucius Verus, and Rome cheers them out of the city, certain the war will be over in a single season. It takes 5. By 165 AD, Roman soldiers burn Seleucia and Ctesiphon, and the Parthian Empire is broken. Marcus Aurelius has won. Then the army comes home and brings something back with it. A soldier collapses on the road, his skin covered in black sores. The Antonine Plague reaches Rome in 166. 2,000 dying a day. Before it ends, it takes perhaps 5 million across the empire of Marcus Aurelius. The treasury is empty, and Marcus Aurelius refuses to raise taxes. Instead, he hauls the imperial treasure into Trajan's forum and sells it at public auction. Silk robes, jewels, gold cups from his own palace sold to strangers. For 2 months, while the funeral fires never stop burning. Then, in the winter of 169, Lucius Verus collapses in his carriage on the road to Rome and never speaks again. Marcus Aurelius buries his co-emperor, and at 48 he is alone. One man now carries an empire of 60 million through the worst plague in Roman history. In 170 AD, the Marcomanni and Quadi smash across the frozen Danube. For the first time in 3 centuries, enemy armies stand inside Italy. They burn Opertergium and besiege Aquileia. Refugees flood the road south, and in Rome, people whisper that the empire of Marcus Aurelius is finished. With the legions gutted by plague, Marcus Aurelius does the unthinkable. He arms gladiators, slaves, and bandits, and marches them north as Roman soldiers. He leaves the city behind. The philosopher emperor will spend almost the rest of his life in mud, tents, and army camps along the Danube. Winter 173. The Sarmatian Iazyges lure his legions onto the frozen Danube, where horses can charge across ice that Roman infantry cannot hold. The Romans lay shields flat on the ice, brace their feet, and drag the riders down. Marcus Aurelius wins a battle on a frozen river. 2 years later, a Roman legion is trapped and dying of thirst in Quadi territory, surrounded with no water left under a burning sky. Then the storm breaks. Rain saves the legion, lightning scatters the enemy, and Rome calls it a miracle granted to their emperor Marcus Aurelius. At night, in a tent among the Quadi, Marcus Aurelius writes to himself in Greek. Not for Rome, not for history, for no one. He is 53, grey, sick and exhausted. He writes that fame is smoke, that everyone he knows will soon be forgotten, including himself. Spring 175. A rumor spreads through the east that the emperor is dead, and Syria's governor, Avidius Cassius, has himself proclaimed emperor. 7 provinces in Egypt go over to him. Marcus Aurelius is very much alive, and he announces that he wants Cassius taken breathing, not harmed. The revolt lasts 86 days. Then Cassius' own officers turn on him on a Syrian road, and it collapses before Marcus Aurelius ever arrives. They send the emperor proof, sealed in a box. Marcus Aurelius refuses to open it, refuses to look, and orders the man buried with honor. In his camp, they hand him the traitor's letters, every name, every plot. Marcus Aurelius throws the whole bundle into the fire, unread. Then, near Tyana in Cappadocia, his wife Faustina dies after 30 years of marriage. He renames the village Faustinopolis and mourns her openly. In 176 AD, Marcus Aurelius returns to Rome after 8 years on the frontier, riding in triumph beside Commodus, his only surviving son. 13 children were born to him, most died before adulthood. The one who lived is a vain, pleasure-hungry boy who worships the arena. Still, in 177, Marcus Aurelius makes the boy co-emperor. For the first time in nearly a century, Rome passes to a natural son. A year later, the northern tribes rise again, and the sick emperor rides back to the Danube, dragging his reluctant son north with him. The plague returns with the war. Marcus Aurelius, now 57, can barely eat, sleeps almost nothing, and drinks dark medicine in wine to keep going. Yet he is winning. He plans 2 new provinces beyond the Danube, Marcomannia and Sarmatia, Rome's first expansion in 70 years. Then, in March 180, at Vindobona on the Danube, fever takes him. Marcus Aurelius stops eating and drinking, refusing to drag it out. He sends Commodus away from the sickbed, afraid the illness will spread to his son. Then he covers his head and lies down. The sentry comes for the night's watchword. The dying emperor points toward his son's tent. Go to the rising sun. I am setting. On the 17th of March, at Vindobona, the last good emperor of Rome is gone at 58, and the Golden Age dies with him. Within weeks, Commodus abandons his father's war. He pays the tribes to leave, cancels the 2 new provinces, and marches home to Rome. 13 years of campaigning and a fortune in Roman silver, signed away by a 19-year-old boy in a single season. Back in the capital, the young emperor renames Rome after himself, declares he is Hercules reborn, and forces the Senate to applaud. The son, raised on Stoic philosophy, fights in the arena for the crowd and charges the treasury 1,000,000 coins for every appearance. On the last day of 192 AD, he is strangled in his own bathhouse by a wrestler, and the dynasty ends with him. The following year, 5 men claim the throne. Civil war tears the empire apart, and the long peace of the 2nd century never returns. But something survives. The notebooks written by lamplight on the Danube, untitled, unpublished, meant for no one, are quietly copied and passed on. For 1,000 years they are barely mentioned. Then, in 1559, a scholar in Zurich prints them, and Europe finally reads them. Today, that private diary is called Meditations, read by presidents, prisoners, and soldiers, and it has never once gone out of print. The man who ruled 60 million people wrote that fame is smoke. Marcus Aurelius has been dead for 18 centuries, and we are still listening. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more legendary stories from history's darkest and greatest figures.